Welcome to the Faculty Emeriti Induction Ceremony. I'm Kirk Walker, Interim Head of School. I'd like to thank you for attending the event today and for celebrating with us these remarkable educators. I encourage you to share your memories and congratulations in the chat. Since its inception in 2015, this special program has honored retired faculty for their exemplary teaching, professional accomplishments, and long-term service to our school and its students. Today, we will have the honor of inducting 2 esteemed faculty emeriti for 2020 and 1 for 2021. Each inductee will have 2 individuals speaking on their behalf and will receive a special piece of art created by GPS students. Our first faculty emeriti inductee for 2020 is Kathy Alt Cash, a graduate and May Queen of the class of 1972. Kathy began her GPS career as faculty member in the fall of 1988, directing the school's dance curriculum and terpsichord. In her more than 3 decades at GPS, Kathy served as both chair of the Fine and Performing Arts Department as well as coordinator of the Fine Arts Department. She served as president of the Tennessee Association of Dance, TAD, and the executive co-chair of Unity. Her awards including the TAD Outstanding Dance Educator in 2001, the GPS Teacher of the Year in 2005, the Margaret Rawlings Lupton Alumni Award of Excellence in 2007, and the NDEO Outstanding Dance Educator Award of 2008. Inducting her today are GPS chemistry teacher and colleague Keith Sanders and her daughter, Katie Cash Bien, class of 2002. Congratulations, Kathy.
During the 1991-92 academic year, there were many wonders for a first-year teacher at GPS to behold, from the cat rat parade in the fall to the stunning cum laude induction in the spring, both memorable for entirely different reasons. However, just before Thanksgiving, there was a dance program, apparently an established tradition, which left the uninitiated slack-jawed. So many questions. How can these teenagers demonstrate such inspiring skill, grace, confidence, and artistry? Who is responsible for this? Hasn't someone misspelled terpsichore? The answer to the third question is no. And the mysteries of the first 2 were solved when I came to know Kathy Cash. To say that the noted skill, grace, confidence, and artistry emanated from Kathy would be an injustice to both the students and Kathy. While she possesses all of these attributes in abundance, Kathy's task is far more complex. She guides her charges to find their own seedling artistry, their own spark, and use them to ignite their unique blaze of self-expression through movement and time. These are the skills of an artist teacher. These are relationships that cannot be superficial, which demand no small gift of vulnerability. This is a process into which one must pour oneself unreservedly. It is said that a teacher's legacy lies with her students. If so, the most important voices on this occasion are theirs, artists who have danced away from this school into the wider world, inspired and nurtured by our honoree. Here are some of them. She shared so many possibilities with me about my future in dance, and then she did the one thing I needed the most. She believed in me. Kathy single-handedly changed the course of my life. Terpsichord in many ways made me who I am today. It gave me a strong foundation for my sense of self, as well as a love and appreciation for the arts, providing a catalyst for my own enduring creativity. It's hard to put into words the full impact of Kathy Cash on my life and who I am today. On top of the confidence she instilled in me, Ms. Cash taught me so much about being a gracious leader. You inspired us and taught us to inspire one another. I clearly remember the freedom from the pressure of perfection, comparison, or competition, replaced by the drive to pursue and enjoy my passion for dance. There's a saying, dance through life. Her graceful stride down the GPS hallways seemed always to be floating, joyful, purposeful, a metaphor for navigating life. She was one of the teachers who saw strengths in me before I saw them in myself. On multiple occasions, she looked me in the eye and told me what I was doing well and why it was valuable. I remember every single one. Kathy, there is a continuous ripple that emanates from GPS. It spreads ever widening in all directions, replicating at each new point of contact. A ripple of women, influenced and nurtured by you and their time here, who carry that inspiration everywhere their feet touch the earth. Even though this is a retirement, we hope and expect to see you often. But please know that with your absence from everyday life here, we will miss you. Congratulations on starting the newest phase of your adventure. Here's to the girl.
Hi, I'm Katie Cash BN, the daughter of the infamous Kathy Cash. Many of us have a teacher from our childhood whose name we still remember because of the great influence they had upon us. But we never really can grasp how many lives those teachers have touched, unless you have someone in your family who's a teacher. Being the daughter of a teacher, I can attest that the impact of Kathy Cash is vast and seemingly infinite. My entire life, it seems as if we could never go anywhere in public without someone yelling from across the room, "Mrs. Cash!" And I don't just mean in Chattanooga. We could have been in some corner of a little restaurant in New York City or in an obscure shop in the middle of nowhere, and inevitably we would hear it, "Mrs. Cash!" With her deep dedication to her students, my mother would always know exactly who that student was, what year she graduated, and what her current career path she was pursuing. My mother is invested in her students far beyond the reaches of high school. She always inspired in her students the desire to constantly be learning, because Kathy Cash herself has a deep thirst for knowledge. She has ingrained in me and all of her students the importance that learning is never over, and to go out into the world and to explore and grow. And what a better vehicle to instill that than through the study of arts. Art in education is essential to defining who we are as individuals, sparking our creativity, and embracing our uniqueness, and its affect is ongoing throughout our lives. As Maxine Greene well describes it, the arts, it is said, cannot change the world, but they may change human beings who might change the world. Even though she's now retired, Kathy Cash will always be a teacher, and her impact upon her students will continue to echo. While we never know just how many lives she impacted, I firmly believe that anywhere in the world she travels, she will always run into one of her former students who loved her, and rooms will ever be filled with the excited squeals, "Mrs. Cash!" What an amazing legacy.
Thank you, Dr. Walker, for that introduction. Over half my life has been spent on the GPS campus, first as a student and then as a teacher. So this induction is the icing on the cake. Thank you to Keith Sanders and Katie BN for writing something nice about me. Hope it wasn't too hard. Thank you to my amazing colleagues, especially those in the Fine and Performing Arts Department who have made this a joyful journey. And a special thanks to my children, Andrew and Katie, who were always proud of my work, even when it meant sacrificing time with their mom. Thank you to the GPS leadership for understanding you cannot have a complete education without a strong arts department. I've seen the arts impact the lives of hundreds of students because of you. My final thanks goes to all the students I've taught over these decades. You have enriched my life beyond description. Here's to the girls.
Our second inductee to 2020 is Ted Tumelaire. Ted began his GPS career in 1990, sharing his passion for history over the course of 20 years. His honest and sincere expectations of his students compel them to think, question, and wonder, guiding them through history, psychology, and perhaps more importantly, the lessons of life. Ted's legacy as a teacher and mentor is legendary. From his years as a Peace Corps volunteer across South Asia and the Middle East to his years at GPS and beyond, Ted Tumelaere has lived his passion and exhibited his love of history and people. Hundreds of GPS girls remember their days in his classroom and moments filled with music, art, and all the trappings of the human story. Inducting Ted today are lifelong friends Dr. Nick Scharf and Linda Mimes, the retired GPS History Department Chair and a colleague.
Good morning. My name is Nick Scharf. Thank you for including me as you honor Ted Tumelaere, my friend of almost 60 years, as he becomes an emeritus faculty member at GPS. In just a couple of minutes, I can give only the broadest outlines of my experience and friendship with Ted, but I can say with confidence that the Ted I know is absolutely the Mr. Tumelaere that you know. There has never been an individual of more consistent or more insistent integrity. Devotion to the truth, perhaps the source of all integrity, is probably first among Ted's core values. We really got to know each other in 1968 during our third year in Nepal. We had each rented rooms on the same garden with a view across the river of Swayambhunath, the famous stupa with eyes overlooking the Kathmandu Valley. Ted's room was furnished with futons, and we would talk through the long evenings about the war, politics, human frailty, and folly, until I would finally fall asleep where I sat. He was a thoughtful, generous friend, and he used to keep expert watch if I was away over my puppy, and more important, my girlfriend and wife-to-be. Ted was born in Holland, near Amsterdam, during the depth of the Nazi occupation. There was hidden upstairs a family of Jews. And one day, shortly after Ted's birth, the SS came searching for the Jews. The story is that the lieutenant's foot was on the first step when he noticed baby Ted in his mother's arms. "Oh," said the lieutenant, "may I hold him? I have a new son at home and I haven't even seen him yet." "Of course, Herr Lieutenant," said Ted's mother. The lieutenant held the baby mesmerized for a few minutes, and then the SS simply moved on to the next house, never going upstairs. As you must know, Ted has lived and taught in Afghanistan, Iran, and Nepal. Living abroad teaches above all that people in different places and times find different ways of addressing our common needs. Each practice is appropriate to its own context and its history. Experiencing other cultures engenders respect for those differences and those people, and ultimately, respect for the same kinds of differences when we find them at home. I've never thought of Ted as a pessimist, but he has always been mindful of the dangers of extremism, of the abuse of power, and of propaganda throughout history. Perhaps the legacy of his family's wartime experience of these things. This may explain not only why he became a teacher and a teacher of history at that, but also something about the peculiar intensity of his teaching. I've been told that he was a relatively demanding teacher who urged with his students the importance of fact in developing their arguments and in supporting their arguments, the importance of taking their own work very seriously. The A's may not have come easily, but they did come, and when they came, they meant something. Ted, my friend, just like your colleague, Ted, Mr. Tumelaere, your teacher, talented, dependable, appreciative, generous, thoughtful, thorough, sincere. I'm told that his students display those qualities as well. And that must be surely his great joy and lasting satisfaction. Thank you again for inviting me to share in this celebration of my friend's work.
Hi, I'm Linda Moss-Mines, Faculty Emeritus and former Chairman of the History and Social Sciences Department at GPS. Studying is hard work. How many times did you see this sign hanging in Ted Tumelare's classroom? Exactly. Every single day. Sometimes the most profound truths are simple, and Ted's entire teaching career was designed to help students discover and master the tools necessary to translate complex concepts and historical events into understandable, meaningful facts. He wanted students to find a passion for the fundamental elements in history so that in the days of their future, each could use those lessons and skills to make sense of the political, social, and cultural worlds in which they would live. After all, good historians prepare you for the future by teaching you about the past. And let me tell you, Ted Tumelare is a master teacher and historian. Ted and I began our GPS career on the very same day in the hot summer of 1990. He was and is my trusted friend, my ally, my comrade in arms on the battlefield of education. To walk into Ted's classroom was to enter a space where students were challenged to develop voices based on facts and critical thinking skills. There were no easy answers in Toomey's classroom. He was Socrates, firing questions, forcing his young charges to think deeply and to speak eloquently, to support opinion with fact. Some days it may have seemed as though he was the inquisitor, in khakis and a bow tie, of course, but then the twinkle in his eyes and the quick smile on his lips waylaid that impression. Ted reveled in the success of his students. He graciously shared lessons and techniques with his colleagues, and that quietly intense exterior begged each of us, students and teachers alike, to step into his space where integrity, commitment, empathy, and a quest for excellence dwelled. Theodorus Marie Tumelare, welcome to your new role, Faculty Emeritus. For you and Juanita, my hope is that the days ahead will be filled with good books, great music, lovely tasty torts, and beautiful ports of call.
Thank you, Dr. Walker, Dr. Scharf, and Linda for such a wonderful introduction. In 1990, I was teaching at a private performing arts school in the Boston area when my wife Juanita and I decided to seek another challenge. At a conference in Washington, D.C., I interviewed with the charismatic Randy Tucker, headmaster of a private girls' school in Tennessee, girls' preparatory school in Chattanooga. Didn't sound like much, a girls' school with a generic name, and it was in the South. Seemed interesting, and my Peace Corps experience had taught me how to live and thrive in a foreign culture, so Juanita and I decided to make the move, another leap into the unknown for both of us. I now have 20 years of fond memories of my experience at GPS, 20 years of outstanding colleagues, 20 years of exceptional students, 20 years of being a member of a respected school that has become a recognized leader in the education of young women. I'm humbled by this honor and thank GPS for allowing me to be part of its distinguished history.
Congratulations, Ted. Our Faculty Emeriti inductee for 2021 is Debbie Glasscock. Debbie came to GPS in 1985. During her 36 years as a GPS art instructor, she received 2 Lyndhurst teacher grants, 1986, 1987, one to study paper making and the other to travel to Japan. In 2004, while serving as 6th grade team leader, she was named GPS's first master teacher. She was a participant in the National Consortium for Teaching About Asia, through which she received a grant to visit China in 2010. She helped form the GPS Macaulay Coordinate Choir and was the self-proclaimed Grand Poobah of all things black, blue, and white. In 2015, she became the first middle school dean of students. Inducting Debbie today are Lynn Macheski, head of the GPS Middle School, and Andrew Glasscock, Debbie's son. Congratulations, Debbie.
When Debbie Glasscock shared with me that she would be retiring at the end of this year, I was filled with a multitude of emotions, and I know that all of her colleagues and students were as well. Debbie has been a fixture at GPS for 36 years. She has taught thousands of students, carefully cultivated the artistic talents of an innumerable number of girls, and has given her time, heart, and soul to this institution. It is extremely difficult for any of us, faculty or students, to imagine a GPS without Debbie Glasscock. Having applied in 1985 for a position as a junior and senior high art teacher, Debbie has taught myriad middle and upper school art classes, including Art 2, Art 3, AP 2D, and AP Drawing. She developed the 6th and 7th grade arts curriculum with an eye on what was best for young girls. Interestingly, throughout her tenure, Debbie has always taught 8th grade art. She mentioned to me, teaching 8th grade girls is like teaching adults without the cynicism. Having also taught 8th grade for 20 years, I couldn't put it better myself. I have seen Debbie serve in quite a few roles at GPS, and I can say without a doubt that I have never seen Debbie happier than when she is in her art classroom, teaching her girls and doing what she loves. Debbie has another secret talent that she brought to GPS and has kindly shared with our community. She is a girl whisperer. I've seen hundreds of girls constantly seek her out for guidance, to share a concern and ask for advice, or just for a hug and a smile. This amazing talent of Debbie's led to her becoming the inaugural middle school dean of students in 2015, a role in which I had the extraordinary opportunity to work closely with her. Debbie is someone who knows girls at their core, both as members of the GPS community and as individuals. She knows each girl for who she is and who she has the potential to be. This is what made Debbie so amazing at her role as Dean of Students. It was the love she showed for each and every girl. Even when she had to have a hard conversation, after the tears, there were always smiles, hugs, and a thank you, Mrs. Glasscock. Now, Debbie will tell you that one of her most important roles at GPS has been as the Grand Poobah in charge of the black, blue, and white competition program which she created. She has organized competitions between our girls over everything from talent to sock choices to St. Patrick's Day bling, and the girls have loved each and every moment of it, from the sorting activity at the beginning of the year to the awarding of the black, blue, and white cup at the end of the year. Actually, I would be hard-pressed to say if the girls or Debbie loved it more. It is a true example of the school spirit that Debbie so genuinely brings to our campus and has shared with our school community. Debbie has been a stalwart supporter of our girls, a true seer of artistic talent, and a beloved member of our community. She has touched the lives of more girls and colleagues than we can count during her time at GPS. While we will miss Debbie and her tremendous heart, as well as her witty sense of humor, her joyous use of emojis and emails, and her uncanny ability to show love and grace to everyone, we could not be more excited for her next adventure in her retirement. Here's to you, Debbie Glasscock.
Hi there, I'm Debbie's son Andrew, and once a frequent guest at GPS. I spent many of my half days and days off from school in Mom's art room as a child. She might not recall that I was there for many of her favorite stories, like when the Fine Arts department got their very first computer. The department head at the time wanted an easy password that everyone could remember and wouldn't have a hard time using, so she just abbreviated Fine Arts. Fortunately, Mom was there to remind everyone what else F Arts might spell. Now, for most of my childhood, I'll admit, I didn't think much of Mom's work. It wasn't until later that I truly considered and came to appreciate her art, what she taught to her students, and what she practiced at home. Next to my parents' bedroom hangs a charcoal pencil sketch of my baby sister, right next to a framed drawing of 5-year-old me, sitting on a toy tricycle with my cheeks puffed up and my tongue sticking out, wearing a toy traffic cone on my head like a crown. I've always been proud of that one. A more recent portrait of my sister hangs in their dining room, her piercing stare wreathed in fraying and torn and scorched paper, as if she was ready to claw through the canvas at any moment, and she would. Believe me, she would. For as many works like this finished over the years, for us, there were others stowed away. Canvases and stitched fabric frames, outline paintings and glossy paper mache, things Mom said she started in college and just never found the time to finish, all waiting for the right moment. I used to worry there were more projects left unfinished, other work set aside for decades, for us. Much later into my adulthood, Mom went on a retreat to learn about encaustic, a method of sealing painted tiles in wax. At this point, she was experimenting with collage and mixed media she had for some time, and she incorporated this into a piece made just for me, a cutout of a young boy from a vintage ad, glancing at words cut from a book above him, reading, "I plan to give you love, nurturing, and just enough dysfunction to make you funny." Now, I've performed and taught improvised comedy for the past 6 years, so I'll give credit where it's due. She made me funny. But it was this piece, these words, that helped me understand Mom's art like never before. Every paint swatch she chose for new homes that my dad built and finished, every student artwork she spent weekends framing and mounting, every email sent from the office of the middle school dean, every project and student trip, Mom applies her unique artistic touch every single day in everything she does. Why would she ever worry about a few half-finished paintings? Her students, co-workers, friends, and family are all her canvas, all works in progress, made more colorful with each edition. There's a magnet hanging in Mom's kitchen, one that's outlasted 3 different refrigerators replaced over the years. It reads, "Well-behaved women rarely make history." Of course, Mom won't be retiring from GPS quietly. She couldn't. As we recognize her career today, she has one more important lesson for all of us here. Mixed media is as much a composition process as it is one of personal exploration. Pieces are layered one on top of the other over time. Sometimes your elements are planned in advance, others are pleasant surprises discovered along the way. Retirement isn't the end of Debbie's work. A reminder that our own works are often never truly done, especially the ones set aside for years. We should all be so inspired to give love, nurturing, and just enough dysfunction to ourselves and our loved ones, just as Debbie has for all of us. Thank you.
I want to thank Lynn and Andrew for writing speeches for me. I never wanted to be anything but an art teacher. I'm lucky enough to have spent my career doing exactly what I wanted to do. And for 36 years, I got to do it at GPS. I flourished on this journey with the help and support of my family. They put up with my crazy hours, my school trip absences, and the considerable mess that always appeared in my wake. 5 years ago, my husband Brian gave me a kidney and forever changed my life. His gift allowed me to continue doing what I loved. I want to thank my students for sharing their energy and enthusiasm with me all these years. In my heart, you are forever 14. I always pictured myself as an old 8th grader. Maybe that's why we got along so well. Many thanks to my colleagues for your friendship and support. A few of you were my students, and now I've taught some of your daughters too. You've been my fellow collaborators and occasionally my co-conspirators. You are the most loving and dedicated people I know, and it was such a privilege to work with you. Thank you for this recognition, GPS. I will be forever black and blue.
This concludes the induction ceremony. Thank you for joining us.